excited to be talking to Shaan Sharma from the series Chosen. You've been with them since the beginning.
Yeah, 2018.
Okay. Man, and here you are. You're still standing.
Yeah, it's been such a blessing. I am so much better for it.
That is awesome. And so, how did it go from the beginning? You were an actor already. You had to come in and read for it. They thought you would be good. They cast you. How much time did that whole process take?
Yeah, I mean, I was making a living as a performer, thankfully, for a few years at that point, and kind of doing my thing. I had my process down. I had my kind of infrastructure together for how I prepare for things, and a lot of support from other performers who I rehearse with and audition with and that kind of thing. So I got the audition for The Chosen for the role of Simon Peter initially. They used just a handful of pieces to kind of sift through everybody. Sure. And then after they saw someone's initial audition, they would kind of decide, where do they kind of fit into our world? Okay. So I got the call back that was in person with Dallas and our casting director, Beverly Holloway. Dallas Jenkins is the director and creator of the show. And they decided to offer me the role of Shmuel, which is one of the central characters of the show on the Pharisee side, who just is having a hard time seeing the truth, even though Jesus is there. He's more concerned about protecting his people from another false prophet.
Oh, okay. Well, we read the Bible now, and Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, those are the Gospels. That's where you can find pretty much everything that The Chosen covers is the life of Jesus. And the Pharisees were not necessarily like the good guys.
It's not actually the case.
No.
The Pharisees were the most respected and educated religious leaders of the time. I think because of, the fact that ultimately Jesus was crucified, because of the fact that it was his own people that turned him over and called for his death, that we tend to look at the Pharisees as a whole, as if they were some kind of bad people.
Right.
And also hearing some of the things that Jesus said about the religious leaders at the time also can give us that impression. But actually, the Pharisees were incredibly diverse. They were so educated. They were strict, but that's because the Jewish people believed that if they lived sinful lives, the Messiah would not come. That the sooner that they lived godly lives, the sooner they would deserve rescue from their oppression. And so the Pharisees were people who guided the people to being their best selves. And in the case of some religious leaders, and I don't think that's very different today, not everybody uses that influence for the good of the people. Sometimes they use it for their own selfish purposes, their own agendas, their own egos, their own whatever. But there's also another thing that, we're not all very good at handling criticism.
Oh,
right?
We are?
So you can say, the Pharisees, but how do you treat people who speak up when they disagree with you? Because if you'd rather kill them, you're not so different from a Pharisee.
That's good. So it sounds like you've worked on this a little. Did you have all that before you had to embody that character? Because I read you're a Pharisee, I'm like, someone drew the short straw.
No, I think I really have such a distinct role within the story.
Yeah.
And my character is not a biblical character. He's kind of an amalgamation of different Pharisee attitudes. And so the show has been able to use my character to say and do things that they would have more controversy if they used a biblical character to do.
I got you.
And so I've ended up having a very unique role in the process. And it's been such an honor and a privilege to be that distinct. Now, it is harder to be recognized when I'm out and about because people are like, which guy with a beard and black are you?
You've always got a head covering, though, right?
I'm wearing a burqa for most of the thing. You know what I mean? No, I'm just, the headdress and the shawls and this, it's like, it's almost like we're all wearing tuxedos. It's like, you can't tell this apart, And we have fun nicknames for each other because every Pharisee on our show has a slightly different personality, a very significantly different personality. But Shmuel's kind of the nervous Nelly. He's the guy who's just trying to get it right, and he can't see the truth in front of his eyes. And that's really the lesson of my character's story, is that good people can be wrong.
Yeah, that's good. My impression, I think the first time that I saw, the first time you were on screen, was like, this is I could relate to a lot of people that I know in that, like, you get into your job, whatever your job is, and if there's a ladder to climb, if there's a place that you want to go, like you're anxious to do that thing, to get it right so that you can kind of climb the ladder so you can be more successful, have more of an impact. And that's how I saw your character that first time where he comes in, hey, this, and I'm like, there's somebody who wants to go somewhere in his job in his role as, part of the, well, were you part of the Sanhedrin there at the beginning? Or?
No, the Sanhedrin is something that Shmuel kind of, I guess, earns a place in it.
Yeah.
But the way that I've always ended up in leadership positions myself, just in my normal life, and I've never sought to be a leader. But what I've done is I've taken responsibility and tried to handle that responsibility well. And what happens is, if you handle responsibility well, people tend to give you more responsibility. And before you know it, you've built up a leadership position simply by well executing tasks.
Wow.
And so I feel like that's a similar case for Shmuel, where Shmuel isn't, we see the Pharisees who are very ambitious and they're just out for themselves. But you see Shmuel taking responsibility for his community and taking action, even in, for example, in our first season, where Nicodemus fails to call Jesus out for what Shmuel sees as heresy, for blasphemy. And so Shmuel says, well, if my teacher isn't going to do it, I guess I've got to step up and do it. And I think there's a moment in all of our lives where we realize that maybe adults don't know everything, maybe our parents don't know everything. And so there's a moment where we all have to step into our own maturity and say, you know what, I got this. And that's what happens to Shmuel. At a certain moment, if the teacher fails, now this student must become the master.
Okay. And did the character influence you, or did you, in your real life experiences, be able to influence the character?
It's a marriage. You have the writers who write this incredible material, but they need the actor to justify and embody and to do the other half of it, which is to put the clothes on. If you think of the writers are creating the skeleton, and then we put the flesh and the clothes and the makeup and the hair and all that stuff on. So it's really a partnership of their vision and my vision together. And with Dallas, who's our director, kind of steering the ship to make sure everything is going to come to the right kind of cohesive finish, because he's the only one with the full vision of where it's all going to go. So it's absolutely a collaboration between both of us. So I've shaped Shmuel a lot with my choices, and it's influenced how the writers write my character.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, those of us who are outside of, filmmaking and, it's kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
So you're letting us in.
Well, when you're writing a TV series, especially when you write the pilot or write the first season, you haven't cast it yet.
Sure.
You don't know who's going to play these characters, so you can't really write to their strengths. But when you've cast a show and now you're into second, third, fourth seasons, the strengths of your actors and you can start to cater them. You also know their weaknesses, so you can try to protect them. And so the show does evolve and their vision does evolve based on who's on the team.
Okay. Well, and as this kind of came into your personal life as one of the gigs that you're doing among a lot of other things, how did you find, I know for me, when a new opportunity comes, sometimes I don't know how to decide if that's a good idea for me to pursue that, or if that's just, maybe it's just my own ambition, maybe it's, maybe it's something that would be good, but maybe not the best. How do you decide those kinds of things with The Chosen or anything else that you?
Well, so if I have kind of a hierarchy of what it is that I'm doing at any time, acting has been my main priority since I relocated from Minnesota, where I'm from, to Los Angeles. And so whenever an acting job comes along, that's my priority. Okay. So when The Chosen came along, that was my priority. But at the time, I only was needed for a couple of weeks in Texas to shoot the first season. Or really to shoot the first 4 episodes, and then we had a long gap before we finished the first season because we needed to raise more money to do it. So it's not something that I had to give my entire life to. It's something that I had to give a couple of weeks here and there to initially. Now we film over a 6-month period, and I was in Italy and in Texas and Utah, and so it's much more consuming now than it was before, but still it's only 6 months out of the year. So for me, the idea that I had a paying acting job to be able to do what I love, great, I'll do it. And then I was able to fit everything around that. But I am very active in union service for SAG-AFTRA, and I'm an educator. I'm a professor for a university in New York called Pace University. I teach for their School of Performing Arts. I have my own acting studio. I teach and have been working to improve the LA Conservatory of our union. I produce a podcast about table reading, really great unproduced screenplays. So I'm very active in developing projects and doing other things.
It sounds like you're an advocate.
I have been since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Even in junior high and high school, I was always somebody sticking up for people when I thought something was wrong. So I've kind of made a habit my whole life out of challenging the status quo wherever I think it isn't working. So coming into playing Shmuel, who kind of is protecting the status quo, it was an interesting thing to be playing a character who is like so many people I've been opposing most of my life.
What did that teach you in that? Did that give you some more clues into how to succeed, or
yes,
did it give you more compassion?
That the people that are resisting change may just be scared, and they may be good people, but it's really hard to take criticism. It's really hard, and the act of speaking up, even as is so stressful for people. I mean, most people are afraid to speak up. So if somebody actually does have the courage to say, I disagree with this is wrong, whatever, it's so stressful on their bodies. Almost nobody does it well. They may be too angry, they may be too sad, they may not use the right words, whatever. So as somebody who's been in a position of leadership, and I'm constantly getting feedback from, say, SAG-AFTRA members about what's working and not working, most of the time they don't express it in a way that is not offensive. Most of the time it's too harsh, it's too laced with emotion, it's too aggressive. But I don't think that we should dismiss valid criticisms just because they were poorly expressed. I signed up for this position, and I have to see the heart of what someone is saying, not the way that they're saying it. And I see too many people in positions of leadership discounting valid concerns because it just didn't placate their egos. It didn't happen the way that I thought you should communicate. It's tone policing. It's like, even if you have a good point, since you were a little too upset, I'm just going to ignore you. Like, that's not leadership.
Man, I got some work to do. I mean, I got 3 kids.
I'm not a parent yet. Yeah, it's easy for me to say that as somebody who's not in that position. But if there's something positive that I can impart, then great. But I mean, I don't claim to say it's easy. It's not easy to take criticism. And actually, when I'm in a position of being criticized, usually it's from people who aren't family to me. They're members that I represent. But it certainly lands differently when it's people who know and love you who have criticisms. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. That's good, though. I mean, it's good to kind of... Yeah, thanks. It's good to lean into that. Well, and your whole family, just everybody agrees about everything?
Right, exactly. We have no conflict ever.
Okay, so you had to learn all that outside.
That's right, yes. We're the only family in the world that has 0 conflict.
Wait, you have brothers, sisters?
I have a younger sister.
Okay.
And I have a mother. And
your younger sister never poked at you?
No, our family has been incredibly chaotic, and my father hasn't been in the picture since 1998. Okay. So our family has had definitely its fair share of trials and tribulations. So I actually learned things that I am trying to unlearn now at this point that resulted from I mean, aren't we all that way? A lot of us are still trying to heal from things that happened when we were young and patterns that we developed, in our families that doesn't serve us now. So I've been having to deal with some of that myself.
I mean, that's real.
Yeah.
I think all of us, we're either avoiding it or we're like, okay, I'll deal with that. How do I deal with that?
I want to be effective with my life. We have very little time here before we're on to the next. And for me, I want to do the best I can. And when I have a goal, I want to accomplish my goals. And so if I'm doing something that isn't serving me, I need to change it. I'm not going to hold on to a bad habit just because of my ego. I want to let go, and I want to learn, and I want to be more effective at accomplishing the things I'm here to do.
That's really good. I mean, if you can get clear, that sounds like a why. I mean, what's your why? Like, that sounds like a really good why. And then what would you say, just to someone who's like still like in the mud of all of that and trying to figure out, okay, I think I know why it matters, but like, then now what do I do? Like, what's my first step out of this bad way of thinking or this habit that I just can't kick? What's that first, like, what would you recommend?
Courage.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, you're not going to do it right. I mean, we don't. But
That's hard.
Well, how did you learn to walk?
Oh,
you failed a lot before you got your feet underneath you. And I think as we get older, we don't want to go through the failure part to get to the success part. But there's no other way. There's no way to get to success other than through failure. So the sooner you start failing, the sooner you start learning and sharpening yourself up. And everything is consistent action over a long period of time. There's no quick fixes to anything. It's all an investment of time, energy, and resources. So if there's something that you want to do different, if there's behavior you want to change, I mean, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything, but just from my own experience as an educator and helping people, through their careers as performers or helping them with their issues that stand in the way. Because a lot of times it isn't a lack of skill or talent that is holding someone someone back. It's their mentality, it's their attitude, it's their habits, it's things like that. A lot of what I'm doing as a teacher is helping people with the things that are standing in the way that have nothing to do with their ability. And you got to start failing. So we have this thing where we make perfect the enemy of good enough. And we should say...
Wait, say that again.
Yeah, we make perfect the enemy of good enough. Like we want it to be perfect, and so we won't do something unless it's good enough, let alone doing it poorly. And what I'm telling all of my students is go make things poorly, because you'll learn so much from doing them poorly that they'll be a little less poor every time you do it. And then you start refining your skills, and in 5 years you're making award-winning material. You're still ahead of the game because most people talk and never do. So if there's anything you want to do, start failing at it. Just learn the lessons. Start with failure. That's really the way to do it.
That is not like some kind of positive mental attitude thing. That's like, no, just go suck for a while.
Yeah, but what other way is there?
I mean, you're right. It's just so not what we want to do. It's so far outside of our comfort zone.
That's ego, you know?
Okay.
That's ego.
Okay.
That's ego. And we all have it. And we all have it because, listen, you don't want to be seen not doing your best. You don't want to see yourself not do your best.
Yeah.
But so we all have an attachment, which is why there's such a beautiful naivete of being an infant, because you don't know you're failing when you can't walk yet.
Yeah.
You're not judging yourself. It's only when we get older that we start judging the failure process. Otherwise, kids are failing all the time. That's all they are is failure. They can't feed themselves. They can't walk. They can't talk. All they can do is fail all the time. And they just,
and we love them.
We forgive them. And you know what? That's what we do with people that we see going after what they love. We love them. We support them even if they're failing at it, because we want them to succeed. We know that's the process.
Yeah.
So we really have to just let go of the ego, trust, and just understand that the only way through is through.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. It's good. I think the grappling with those life experiences that they come at you and they surprise you. You know, things happen to you. I don't know if there's anything like that you can put your finger on, like something happened in life that just was like, I was not expecting that, good or bad.
That's life.
Just all of it?
That's life. I mean, I'm so glad we don't know what's going to happen in the next moment, because if life was just following a pre-planned routine, how boring would that be?
Well, that's true.
But we don't want any bad surprises, but sadly, there's good and bad, right? And so it's really hard to go through some of the bad surprises.
Yeah.
But then the good surprises, and really what gets me through it is just how beautiful and amazing people can be. You know, people can be so horrible, but they can also be so lovely. And, you know, when I was traveling around in Italy, when we just filmed part of season 5 in Italy, some of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen in my life: St. Peter's Basilica, the Sistine Chapel, Vatican City, and the museum, and seeing all these basilicas in all these Italian cities and these medieval towns like Matera and Arice in Sicily, and the kinds of like beautiful buildings that have been made and the gorgeousness of the land and all of this. It's just like, I can't believe human hands built all of this stuff. And those same hands will turn around and do the most unimaginably horrible things to each other. It's really just a choice. And so we're capable of such amazing things. It's worth the pain.
That's so good. That's so good. One of the things we say around here at KTSY a lot, we've talked a lot about hope. We kind of, the word just kind of kept like fizzling up, especially in the last probably 5 years, just through what's been going on in the world, what's been going on in our own lives. Hope just seems to be the thing that if you can grasp onto, I sense some of that in just what you're saying. You have to be hopeful in order to want to stay around and believe that there's good.
So how do you define hope?
Well, there's a lot of different ways I think that you can define hope. I think going back around to, you know, your role in The Chosen, I think hope personified is Jesus. My understanding from the Bible is that, you know, God, when he created the world and we fell, he's been loving us back to relationship with himself. And then he sent Jesus to show us what that was actually like flesh and blood. You talked earlier about being an actor, and there's the skeleton, but then you put on all the realness of it, the personality of it. And I think that that's exactly what Jesus did. He came here to be one of us, a still God, fully God, fully human, but he came here to show us what God was like in a way that we could relate to. So when, like, that's at the end of the day, I'm like, hope personified is Jesus. Would you agree with that or have another thing to add to that?
I would say also that the other thing that to me Jesus represents is that even if you go through the most unimaginable trials and tribulations, if you do what you think is right, what you believe is right, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to learn that you were wrong, in which case you can learn from that and you can do it better the next time, or you're going to redeem a part of the world. Now, it was up to Jesus to redeem us all, but each of us can redeem our families, ourselves, our schools, our workplaces, our communities, etc., by being willing to suffer the abuses of speaking what you know is true, having everybody hate you for it, and then as long as you don't collapse, as long as you stick with it and you keep doing your best, after the controversy is over, the world will be a better place for you having spoken up and done something to sacrifice yourself for the good of all. And he sets the ultimate example of sacrificing oneself for the good of other people. And we all try to do that for each other in one way or another. And so for me, the hope comes from knowing that tomorrow can be better than today if you just follow what you know is right and true, and that God is with you when you do that. It's like when Jesus says, keep your eyes on me to Simon on the water, when it's like as soon as Simon takes his eyes off of Jesus is when he sinks. But you keep your eyes on God, you can walk on water.
That's
you can
amazing.
move mountains. You can transform hearts. And our show is doing that. People are watching a television series. They're coming back from the brink of destruction. They're reconnecting with estranged loved ones. They're discovering God, deepening their faith. They're opening up their Bibles. They're learning more than they ever had. It's transforming lives through the power of story. And it's because our creative team and our producers are willing to suffer criticism for taking creative license, for not doing it the way other people would do it. But we're doing something new in the entertainment space with these stories because we put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And so we're being rewarded for that, and that is such a positive thing for people not only of faith, but people who are not of faith to learn more about these stories. So I think hope to me comes from when you believe that tomorrow can be better than today. And we have the ultimate example of that from Jesus. You can even be killed and be, come back from that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I think something that you said too, I really appreciate is that, it sounds like a lot of effort. It sounds like you got to get up every day and you got to try and you got to, stay steady and you got, sometimes we're really tired. Like the devil is an expert at how to just zap all of our energy. But I love that you used an example of just keeping your eyes on Jesus.
That's right.
It doesn't take a lot of physical effort. It doesn't take a lot of emotional effort. It just takes knowing where you're supposed to look.
What are you targeting?
Yeah.
Because if you're looking down, you'll go down. If you're looking up, you'll go up. So what are you targeting with your attention? If you're targeting love, if you're targeting God, if you're targeting being the best you can be, if you're following the examples in his teachings to love one another and to lift up those that are hurting. I mean, one of the best things you can do for your own happiness and health, mental health, etc., is to volunteer. Is to go serve those that are in need. Like he had that whole thing about separating the sheep from the goats, right? Did you visit somebody when they were incarcerated? Were you with them when they were sick? Did you give them clothes when they didn't have anything? Did you feed them when they were hungry? You just do some of those basic things for other people, and it feeds you. And so part of why volunteerism is such a big part of my life, especially within my community of SAG-AFTRA and advocating for performers and all of that, I have gotten so much out of it, even though it's all volunteer work. And it's fed me and it's given me such a feeling of accomplishment and empowerment and relationships and all of that. So absolutely when we serve others.
Yeah, that's great. And we are, there are always places that are looking for people to get involved. There are always people who need to be encouraged.
Totally.
And we're all wired differently. Like I said earlier that you were an advocate. You said, I've been that way my whole life. Someone asked me that question the other day, and I said, well, whether I'm doing this job, whether I'm doing any job, from the time I was a little kid, God wired me to be an encourager. It just flows out of me. And I'm sitting in an environment that I did not create, that I was totally intimidated by. And I said, someone created this environment and I have no idea how to do it, but that's what they were wired to do. And that's different than what I was wired to do. So how do you fight that comparison? Because so many of us fall to that temptation. We're on social media. We see everybody's highlight reel, and we fall for like that comparison. How have you found that to be in your life, or how have you avoided it, or how has that impacted you?
I can't be what I'm not, right? No more than Cheerios can be Fruit Loops, right? And you don't really want every cereal to be the same. You sometimes you're in the mood for Raisin Bran, and sometimes you want some Kix. Sometimes go crazy, get some Fruity Pebbles. But the last thing you want is for everything to be the same. So when we are comparing ourselves to other people, we're diminishing our own uniqueness. And how if we're just the best of who we are, we contribute our talents and what we were created to deliver to this world, that's when we're going to thrive. That's when we're going to be in alignment with what God created us for and what is best for our own bodies and our hearts and our souls. And it's very easy to be jealous or envious of what other people have got going on, which is why I think it's so unhealthy. There used to be a time when you could be the best, actor in your high school.
Sure.
But now when you got social media, are you the best actor in the world? You can just never be, it's never enough. There's always someone more somewhere. And that's not good for our mental health.
No.
So I think the best thing we can do is compare ourselves to, am I better today than I was yesterday? How can I be a better me? Because the comparison game with other people is just a one-way ticket down, with your mental health.
Yeah.
And so, for me, it's like, I'm so glad that in a, for example, zombie apocalypse survival group, you can't have a bunch of meatheads who'll just charge into the zombies. You need to have a medic. You need to have the plucky comic relief. You need to have the chaplain or somebody there to keeping an eye on people's spirits.
Yeah.
You need to have the meathead. You need to have the stoic leader who's able to think clearly under pressure.
Yeah.
We all have our role to play. And
in the zombie apocalypse.
In the zombie apocalypse, right? But even in video games, you need to have the tank, the healer, the ranged attacker, whatever. Like, we all complement each other.
That's good.
Personalities complement each other. Men and women complement each other. We all have something to contribute. And if we try to be each other, we're actually taking from what we could contribute to the community.
That's good.
So what we really need to do is be honest about what we are and who we are, what we want to do. And so often the world wants to push us into things that diminish what we know we want to do. My parents don't want me to be an artist. What parent does, right? They wanted me to be a safe, doctor, engineer, lawyer, something like that. And I don't blame them for that. But that wouldn't have been true to who I am. And so many of the people who come to me to learn how to act weren't to college for things that they didn't want to go learn, just because they wanted to make their families happy, or they had an idea, I wanted to be a doctor, and I got through my undergrad and I realized, no, I don't. So now's the time to shift.
Yep.
I've had people who spent their whole lives being, say, dentists, and now they're in their 60s saying, like, I never lived for me.
Wow.
And now I'm living for me.
Yeah.
And so the sooner we can get in alignment with why we're here, that's what I would advocate.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you're there?
Oh, God, yes. No, I've had a very clear vision since I was a kid of what I was here to do. I didn't find the words to express it until I was 24. But, I've known I've been artistically inclined since I was a kid.
And when did faith come into that journey?
I survived my childhood because of His grace alone. I was preserved. It wasn't my own strength that got me through what I went through as a child. Okay. And so I speak about that when I talk and I do these speaking engagements for different events around the country, is like I share the fact that I did not want to be here.
Yeah.
But God saved me. And so I live only to do His will to the best of my ability. And whenever I take my eyes off of Him, I sink, and it really sucks. And so I'm constantly trying to keep my eyes on Him.
Yeah. And how do you do that in your personal life?
Prayer.
Okay.
Prayer and surrounding myself with good people that lift me up and feed me. Because you are what you eat. You surround yourself with negative people, you're going to be negative. You surround yourself with successful people, it's going to rub off on you. You surround yourself with godly people, they're going to reinforce it. So for me, it's very important. I think we all know that the quality of our life is determined largely by who is around us. And if there are people that drag you down, that sucks.
Ditch them.
You know what I mean? Well,
it's hard, though.
Well, yeah, because you can't always choose who you're around.
That's right.
You can't choose how your kids turn out. You can try, but you can't. I'm sure you have your frustrations too with how different they are, right?
One or two.
And you can't control who your parents are, your siblings are, or whatever. You can't control necessarily who you work with. You can decide to leave the job. But there's so many cases where we just have to get along with people that we maybe wouldn't choose to be around. But when it comes to your friends and how you spend your discretionary time, you absolutely can control who you surround yourself with then.
That's really good. That's good. And is prayer for you kind of like woven through? Are you very formal? I mean, your character would be very formal, right? In The Chosen, Pharisee would have a very formal prayer life, beginning, end. How does that mirror your own personal prayer life?
No, I'm talking to God all day, all the time.
Okay.
You know, I have the times when I know that I will be praying is, for example, when I take my morning showers and I have time to reflect and I sit and I soak and I just kind of think about and plan my day. And that comes from growing up in very cold Minnesota winters where I needed to warm my body up in the morning. My parents never turned on the heat high enough. So I just had to sit there and kind of like cook my body so it could get through the winter.
Yeah.
And so I do that every morning, and that's the time when I turn the lights off. I don't like the bright lights in my face the first thing in the morning. So I'm just sitting in a cocoon of heat praying every morning and just kind of thinking about what needs to happen. And then throughout the day, I'm calling on God for his strength and guidance constantly. And still I fail all the time, but I'm doing my best.
That's good.
Yeah.
And really, that's all that any of us can do.
I'd fail a lot more if I didn't do that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate having this time with you.
Yeah, me
I have
too.
no idea where we're at in the time frame of all of it, but I did want to ask you, just kind of bringing it up a little, being cast as Shmuel.
Shmuel.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm the only character on the show people can't pronounce.
It's okay. Okay, good. Thank you. That makes me feel better.
Shmuel. So people see it, they're like, is it Shmuley, Shmuel, Shmuel? What? Like people can't see it. Just the SH alone just drives people nuts.
Yeah.
But it's as simple as Shmuel. Like a cow goes moo, Muel, Shmuel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you weren't cast in that character, which one would you choose?
I have, when people ask this question, I have to put a disclaimer because I honestly feel like our show is so well cast that I don't really know how we could have done a better job.
That's impressive.
Right? So everybody who's in their roles is doing such a phenomenal job that I don't really think anyone would serve those roles as well. And I think part of it is what I was saying earlier. The writers know how to write to all of our strengths, so they're setting us up for success.
Okay. Well, and it's kind of an inside question. You know, I mean, I ask you that, and you are just like immersed in the show. So like that's hard. You know all these people. They're your friends.
But I mean, I can look at a particular role and say the acting challenge that's involved in that would be really fun to undertake. Yeah. And there's no character that I would enjoy more than playing something like Jesus, you know? Jonathan is the perfect person for that role, both on and off screen. We lucked out with the best person who could play Jesus. So it's not about whether I would make a better character than him, you know, but just the amount of variety of his experience and the amount of scripture and other kind of cool dialogue and experiences he's been able to have as a performer. And experiences that have been incredibly difficult, like being on a cross in the middle of the Italian heat and freezing nights with next to nothing on. The man has done an exemplary job, but just going through that experience would just be such a growth and, you know, challenging opportunity.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Shaan. Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you or anything that you're just, you know, going on up there that we haven't talked about that you want to?
I would just say that we're just so grateful that there are professionals and people of faith like you spreading such wonderful messages with such a great attitude and creating an opportunity for people to connect with, you know, people with involved in these different projects, different backgrounds, etc. And so it's a real honor and privilege to be here. You've been so welcoming and hospitable, and it's been such a fun conversation. And, you know, I know that you've shared that, you know, we all have our challenges and stuff, but God is with you. He's seeing you. He's trying to touch you in every way that he can if you'll let him. And the more you come to him with it and stop trying to do everything with your own strength, you know, like the more he will be able to work in your life, and the more you're honest with the people around you that you need help, the more they'll wrap their arms around you. And it can be really hard sometimes. I can only imagine as a mother how much you want to do things on your own sometimes, but it might be hard to ask for help when you need it. But the world can't give you something you haven't asked for.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I appreciate that. I feel a little bit emotional. That was for all of us, right?
Right.
Not just for me. But Well, God bless you in your endeavors, in the things that you're doing today and tomorrow and next week, and as The Chosen goes on. And I mean, we all know that there's got to be an ending to it. But
and
it sounds
we'll be done filming season 7 next year.
Okay. So, and then it'll be on to the next thing.
That's
but continuing to align with what the Lord has for your life. I know that your impact will go beyond you. And that is the fruit of what we who work in these arenas, whatever, what we hope is that the fruit will be something that is sweet to others, to ourselves, and ultimately to Jesus, who we serve.
Absolutely.
So it's been a pleasure. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. I would love to know what you think of the content. Make sure that you comment and let us know. You can listen to Mornings with Tristi Monday through Friday from 5 to 10 Mountain Time on KTSY at 89.5 in the Boise area, 88.3 in McCall, 88.1 in Twin Falls, and 91.9 in Baker City. You can also stream from wherever you are at ktsy.org. Download the KTSY app for free and make sure to follow along on socials at KTSY Mornings with Tristi on Facebook and Instagram. Love to stay connected.